Here we go. Welcome to Control Talk Now, your Smart Business video casting podcast for the week ending August 16th, 2020. This is episode 375, where the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only Kenny Smyers will dazzle you with his business acumen, his controls acumen, his knowledge of world politics, of espionage, of world history, of medical, the human body and how it's adapting to COVID. Kenny Smyers, the Swiss Army knife of human beings. Welcome to the show, Kenny Smyers.
Eric, I thank you. I don't know how you do it, man. I don't think you could blow a balloon up any more before it blows up. But yeah, your mastery, your language prowess is amazing. The way you knocked off that Uno dos tres without a hitch.
You didn't know I was, I spoke more than one language. That's the only words I know in Spanish, and then I do speak some Japanese.
Oh, cool.
Karate, Toyota. Dude, I have enough trouble with English, but it is what it is, bro. What can I say? I've been in the house a little too long, so it's like when I get a chance to talk to somebody, I get a little crazy. But how are you holding up here, Granddad?
Oh, really good. Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited. We got our second grandchild. We have Sebastian, Thomas, O'Mahony, Sabrina, and Brendan had their second child, our second grandchild, and then our daughter Stephanie announced she's going to have a boy in February. So we're really pumped up about.
So I'm counting on her now coming. I thought that Sabrina was going to name their son Kenneth Eric O'Mahony. So we're counting on Stephanie now. Kenneth Eric is such a powerful name, right?
I kind of
so
like
much
it.
meaning, fraught with meaning and innuendo.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, but the legacy continues, and it's exciting. Rita's out there right now, so I'm looking forward to meeting up with them, and darling stuff, just it makes it all worthwhile. It's hard to put it all in perspective. Time goes by so fast. So look at what we've been doing here. This is episode 375. I remember when we did episode 200, we were down in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah,
and you said, Ken, I don't believe you did 200 of these things. And then I thought, that is a lot. But now here we are, almost doubling that. Yeah. And we're coming real close to 3 million viewers on Control Trends, which is, I think, is another crazy milestone.
Yeah,
I think 3 million people actually took a look at what's happening on Control Trends. That's pretty cool.
Well, thank you to everybody that tunes in. Really, really appreciate that. And so did Rita flew out to California, right?
Yeah,
and
she said
what was
it
her
was
experience like?
Well, some of the things we've been talking about, how you track things. She said that it was pristine, the cleanliness of everything. The airports, certainly the plane. They don't serve anything really on the plane. Just
no peanuts, huh?
Well, yeah, they did, but but it's a separation. She said the Pittsburgh airport was a ghost town.
Yeah.
It was like a setting from a movie where, it was the end of the world. St. Louis was a little bit better than San Diego had a lot of people coming in and out of the airport.
Well, we had some friends in the neighborhood that flew, and they flew Delta, and he was just saying he felt so safe on the plane. He said that, normally they get on and, they put the little video up, or the captain comes on and talks about stuff. And they said when you walked on, you had to wear a mask. The flight attendant said, hey, the seats and everything has been cleaned right before you came on, but here's some extra sanitary things if you want to clean your own deal. He said the pilot came on immediately and said, we've got such and such HEPA filters that we've added to the plane. So the chances of anything being, get anything here is almost nil. So he said he felt extremely safe. The only thing was that you had to poke a hole in your mask if you wanted to drink or eat anything.
Yeah, well, they didn't. Oh wow, there's a herd of deer running past the window here. It's kind of cool. It's like going to a restaurant. So you wear your mask and go sit down. And once you sit down, you take it off. And then when you get up, use any of the facilities or whatever. It seems as though the effort we're making, I think, is really important. I think I think we're definitely reducing it, because remember, it's not magic. It's not like it appears and then you get sick. There's pros and cause and what's that called when you make something happen because of the things you do?
Cause and effect.
cause and effect. Thank you. That if you're not trying to get it, you know, you have very good chance of not getting it. If you try, if you don't care and you want to just play with serendipity and happenstance, then you could be much more exposed than you would be if you didn't. So yeah, I think we're gonna get past this. What
Me
about you?
too.
How are your kids? You getting excited for school, or are you gonna be
They're
homeschooling,
not
or what?
going to school. We're homeschooling now.
Again,
Yeah,
wow.
and it's kind of cool though. But you know, they've got their Zoom meetings and they meet their teachers and all that, and it's a lot more work for us. But
Well, I can
and
imagine. She's
yeah, and you know, but that's the outside of that, right? And maybe some other aspects, you know, because the kids play with kids in our neighborhood. We're real lucky. I think there are 7 or 8 parents that have kids between Evie and Axel's age and around their age. So Evelyn's my 7-year-old daughter, Axel's my 5-year-old son. So they get a lot of social interaction that way. But then when you look at the school part of it, outside of the fact that myself or my wife has to sort of, supervise and make sure they do it, uh, it's pretty spectacular because the teacher is able to break them down into groups of 5 or 6. And I now they haven't said this. This is my guess, is that she's able to sort of discern, well, these 5 kids really understand this, so we can move on to the next thing. These 5 kids need more help, and it seems like she's able to group them in such a way that everybody's able to get a better understanding. Everybody's able to stay challenged. So, from just a pure teaching efficiency, you know, there's a lot to be said for it this way, right? I mean, there's all kinds of other reasons why you don't want to do that, but just from the actual learning aspect of it, I don't think it's hurting my kids at all with this.
good. I'm glad to hear that. Again, I'm so distant from it. I don't have any experience, but you know, I know it's a lot of work. I do remember, and I was very involved in my children when they were in school, and I think that they got to work it out. In other words, when sounds like your school district's doing a big commitment and they're earning their pay. I've been hearing some stories about, you know, schools that the teachers aren't really, you know, they're not working hard, and the school and the parents don't think that they should be getting full salary if not putting a full days of teaching in. And how do you measure that? I mean, that's
Sour grapes.
I would hate to be involved in that, because you know
Yeah,
what,
no.
I
Well,
would measure the effectiveness of my child's education. How do you know that?
exactly. Exactly. Was, you know, as you know, I keep up with the futures market and the stock market and stuff like that. So some of the hottest stocks right now, there's one, I forget the symbol, but it's essentially a remote classrooms, K through 12. And they're going through the roof. But, you know, and I only bring this up from the fact that I think this new technology is going to get here, get locked in, and is going to stay. Because if you're a school that's not able to bring kids in, you invest in this. And I haven't actually seen it. I've heard things about it, but you know, you're able to give the kids just this incredible experience and able to monitor it and so on and so forth. It reminds me a little bit of when my oldest daughter, Britt, who's 31 now, went back in the 90s to a private school called the Atlanta Girls School. And at that time, they didn't have textbooks there. They all were given a Macintosh computer, and they had this thing called beyondbooks.com, right? And, you know, this is all old hat now. This is before the days of YouTube and stuff like that. But, you know, I mean, so, you know, the textbooks and stuff they did, you know, they had videos installed in them. So, you know, you would read stuff and then there'd be the video. If they read a novel with from a writer or whatever, many times they would have, an online meeting with the writer of the book. They would read the book and then they would, you know, have a one-on-one. And, you know, this was revolutionary stuff back then. My only point in bringing it up now is context wise, they had a much better educational experience by using this technology. Now, I don't know whether that's going to be true now or not, but what I'm saying is people are investing a lot of money in creating technologies where obviously if you're a company that's doing that, you're going to make it where it's such a better experience that nobody wants to go back, right? So that's one stock that's doing real well. The other is this thing called Teledoc. I don't know if you've heard of that or not, but it's essentially, you know, because people are not going into the doctor's office, and these doctors that are embracing this now, they're able to do the diagnostics and they got all this other stuff in. So you basically get on the equivalent, I'm guessing, of a Zoom call, and that's going through the roof, right? Because now people don't have to go to the doctor's office. They don't have to wait. They don't have to do this. The doctors, and actually, I don't even think the doctors are having to do the evaluations. I think, you know, they probably give you a sensor thing and they hook it up, and then some machine's telling you you're okay or what are your symptoms or whatever. So it's probably a lot of it's even a virtual doc. Again, I'm not advocating any of this stuff. My point being is once it gets out there and people have invested in it, like if you're a school system and you invest in this K through 12 thing,
Right.
at a certain point, you're going to say, well, yeah, I mean, we've already invested in this. We need to probably configure something that's maybe a blend of the old and the new. But one thing's for sure, it's all going to be different.
Well, you're right. And again, that's why it's a brave new world, and it's exciting. I think what we're going to be covering today on today's show is another leap forward where the
Yeah.
technology comes into a very important front role, and it's improved, it's affordable, it's dynamic, it has the features and benefits that you need to really and truly control one building or a complete portfolio of buildings, and that's why it's exciting. And we're moving on.
Yeah. Well, listen, before we bring our guest on, because you're absolutely, we got a fabulous guest coming up that's going to show you some technology that's going to knock your socks off. But before we do it, Kenny, let's who's the sponsor of the show this week?
Belimo, Belimo Air Controls, and Belimo has got so much going on. We have a couple posts that'll be popping up a little bit later after the show. The new releases of upcoming webinars, some new outdoor and indoor light sensors that are very interesting. You got to read about that. They expand the voltage range of their zone tight valves, made improvements to the QVC assemblies, the PIQ CV assemblies, but most importantly, was Belimo has an announcement. They installed one of the largest solar power generating systems in Connecticut. And we're going to post a video of it. It's only 2 minutes long, but we're talking about they put 2,192 high output solar modules on their roof, and they now are generating enough power to power up 100 houses, or approximately, I think, 1/4 of the power that they use inside their plant to make the Belimo.
Yeah. How cool is that? Congratulations, Belimo. Great folks, and they're platinum sponsors of the Control Trends Awards, and they win every year. They win something. They just do a great job. So that is very, very cool. Well, Kenny, listen, I'm going to introduce our guest, and remind me after our guest, I have a stock tip for our community. Okay. So,
well, that'll keep him. Nice. This guy, what an engineer, huh? What a social media engineer.
All right.
How to keep the people watching.
Hit it. Well, they're going to want to watch this. So how about introducing our guest?
Love to. We have Jamie Lee from Siemens, and Jamie Lee is one of the stalwarts in our industry. He knows our industry inside and out. I mean, the software and the codes. I'm looking on LinkedIn, and I'm looking at the accolades and training, and I'll tell you, I've never seen such an extensive, exhaustive list of certifications. Welcome to the show, Jamie Lee.
Welcome, Jamie Lee.
Thank you. Thank you.
Glad to have you here. Yeah, Kenny's right. You look on your LinkedIn thing, man, it's like 4 pages long. But well, first of all, Jamie, how did you get into the industry?
Well, that's a great story because I came from up through the mechanical part of the industry, was introduced to automation, and actually saw this video on YouTube. It was one of your first videos on how to be a system integrator, and it showed people bringing in different systems, and this one contractor bringing in all these different systems. And I said, that's the guy I want to be. I want to be able to bring on all of that information. So I thank you, Eric, for bringing me into the industry and really getting me excited about systems integration.
Wow. I can't believe you saw that video. That's exciting, Jamie. That's really, really exciting. Those folks are still down there. They still have that room and do some good stuff there. And so that got you started. Now, what's really impressive about you, Jamie, to me is the fact that I see you from New Orleans, and I notice that you're an Atlanta Falcons fan. So you're obviously a survivor. How do you survive in New Orleans being a Falcons fan?
You must have got some misinformation. Definitely not a Falcons fan.
Okay.
Diehard Saints fan, diehard Tigers fan. So
there you go.
Go Tigers, go Saints.
Right. I got you. Well, and Kenny was talking a bit about your coding experience and so on and so forth. Talk about, that and how that's helped you with your job. And because I think, we're getting so many great products, and a lot of people come into from the mechanical side, but you got that experience, plus you got the coding side. So speak about that if you will.
So when I got into automation, it was mainly about got in back when kind of BACnet was taking off, and we were talking about integrating more devices. But then as I got into it, I mean, our industry really started to go towards the coding side and the networking side and the IT side. So I figured, the only way we were going to be able to survive in this is to go get more information on it, learn more, get as much information as you can, because, our industry has just taken on a new course in the past 10 years that, I don't think when we first did this with pneumatics, we were just focused on HVAC. Now we focus on all this data, bringing in more and more data into our systems. You have to be ahead of the curve. You have to be able to talk, and that's what's part of my reasoning for getting the certifications and just wanting to learn more. I mean, staying up at night, not just learning about Siemens systems, but learning about all the other systems that are on the market. I think that's what makes you success. It tries to push to make you successful, definitely in today's market.
Well, you know, and it's true. And again, with great effort, there's great results, because what we're going to talk about next is something that is really a pet project of yours, and you're very proud of it, because you've really worked out all the bugs, and you got this thing into, you know, where you want it to be. And we're going to be talking about the Desigo Optic and some of the great features. But why don't you just give us an overview, and we'll start in from there. Tell us about the Desigo Optic.
So Desigo Optic is our open platform. It was released back in November of last year. So about 2 years ago, Siemens partnered with J2 Innovations. We developed our Desigo Optic based on FIM framework. So it really targets the open market. We look at openness and how we can both be commercially open and technically open at the same time, but also make the process of integration much easier. We're using FIN framework and Optics built around tagging standards and haystack tags. And we really want to make that process of getting, I mean, information, if it just sits in the front end and doesn't serve a purpose, it's just taking up space. We want to take that information, key on that critical data, be able to define that critical data easy, and allow the end user to get to that information much faster. So that's what our big focus has been on with Desigo Optic.
Well, very cool, Jamie. And let's back up for our audience who might not know about haystack and haystack tagging. Tell them what it is and tell them why it's so critical, and how you guys are utilizing it.
Sure. So when I came up in the industry as a systems integrator, we really followed naming conventions. And naming conventions, we worked with owners, and owners gave us a naming convention. We applied that naming convention. It was great. It kind of helped to normalize the data, but it was a very manual process. It had to be touched. Everything had to be touched. What semantic tagging has allowed us to do, about 2 years ago, Haystack developed a standard. There's also Brick on the market right now that's really working on developing standards. We also working with ASHRAE to get ASHRAE brought into the picture. But what that allows us to do is take those point contexts, instead of applying names, we apply in tags on top of it, and applying that data kind of more of in a contextual way. So we can then deploy it, automate the process in a cleaner, faster process, and it allows us to be more consistent, allows us to duplicate the process a lot easier. And then when you go to scale it, we always looking to grow our buildings. As we look to scale it, that could be used over and over again and help us to grow those buildings. All about reducing our time spent on a job and reducing the cost to the owner from having to spend so much time on those projects.
Yeah, no. And to put it in perspective, it's a little bit like, Kenny's from up north, so he would say something like "use guys," and you and I are from the south, so we would say "y'all." And so haystack tagging, to put it in more simplistic terms, is it basically tells the system, you can still say y'all, and Kenny can still say "use guys," and the system knows what it is. And it's not that you couldn't do all this before, but somebody had to come in and manually link those things up, right? So to your point, yeah.
What it requires was the knowledge of the person, because I mean, naming, Ken knows, naming conventions aren't standard. They all over the place. Every vendor uses their own naming convention, and if you really don't have much knowledge about that system, it becomes a very tedious task to figure out what are they trying to name. And as you described with the y'all and everything, we now take a name, we can apply tags to it. We could actually, with some of the tools available in Octave, we can embed a spreadsheet that says, if I see this point name, these are the tags that I apply, and makes it an easier process. So that y'all turns into you very quickly.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. Time out. First of all, we say use guys. And Eric, you know what? You hit that thing with it, and Lee, Jamie hit it right on the head with that link monkey. Remember how I used to get all one of your favorite terms? So you described what the link monkey was, Jamie. Sorry for the interruption, but
no, link monkey. But the point I really want to drive home here is, first of all, we think J2 is really cool, and for our audience out there, if you've been following Control Trends, we were following J2 when they first came out with Scott Mensch and the guys there. So we were big fans of that. You guys, merged or bought them, and then which was really kind of cool, because it's like you went out and you bought the really beautiful car, and then you just made it better, right? You put the Siemens know-how into it. But again, what I really want to stress here is the fact that we hear data all the time, and you said something earlier, it's got to be usable, but getting the data, and this is what I'm getting back to, the way you've got things set up, and I think what you're going to be showing us with this new product is that, hey, now it's affordable, because it wasn't that it couldn't be done before, but it was so expensive that it was cost prohibitive to even do it. So is that a fair statement about?
That is a fair statement. It's now, we've put the automation behind it, and that allows that process to be more usable, as you're saying, and you see in the results right away. It's not something that we have to build up to the results, and that may take a few months. When we turn on the product and we start bringing the points in, we already seeing the power of how Haystack can work behind those points. Now,
let me ask you another question, Kenny, then I'm going to turn it over to you a bit, because I'm getting excited here. This, talking to somebody that says y'all instead of yous guys is really, really helping me out here. So, but Jamie, is it true that with this system that you have, I mean, because if I'm a building owner and I've got, system A over in this building, system B in this building, system C in this building, system D over here, if we're using Haystack tagging, could I still use your product as a way to do my data analytics and my data gathering across the board?
Yeah, so that's what we are migrating to. So we able to, that's the focus, is to now move the product. Now that we have the tags on the points and we have the context, is then move it to more of a rule-based scenario, where we take those tags, we build it into rules, and now we can then analyze our data quicker, easier. And I hate to use the term plug and play, but we want to get to the method where we can just plug data in, run those analytics, and we can then see and be able to react quicker to what's coming in those systems.
Well, I just wanted to back up 1 second too, is that Siemens was an early adopter and proponent of Project Haystack. And when Eric and I were down there in the very first Haystack, when they had the meeting down in Nashville, wasn't it, Eric? Chattanooga, Tennessee. Yeah, it was amazing. But I was always impressed with the first early movers into this concept, and Siemens was on board from day one. So now you've taken this thing up to the really, I think it's the cutting edge now. So the Desigo Optic is built on the latest Haystack 4 standards, allowing for more detailed data and more informative interfaces. So in this point, not to bring the COVID monster into play early here in our show, but this is very important now, right? I mean, your access and your ability to manipulate data, the critical data that you need, not so much maybe in the analytics of energies and savings and stuff like that, but getting the building trusted and healthy and safe environment, right?
Yeah, so we have to look at it at two different scenarios. So one, when we build in user interfaces, we build in web pages at the end of the day. So we need to be able to get to the information that we need to in the quickest way possible. And we need to reduce the click time that it takes to get to that information. So with Optic, we've developed, we have applications that work in the background that really get us to the data that we need. Also with COVID-19, we're not working behind a desk anymore. We're not working behind that computer and looking at a building all day. We have to work remotely. We have to work on the go. We got to work from a mobile phone or a smart device. And we need to know exactly, be able to get to that data as soon as we can. We need to be able to reduce downtime. We need to be able to make sure that our building's comfortable and that we're meeting all the guidelines that are necessary. So it's definitely critical that we have that data to the customer, the end user, as quick as possible.
Good stuff. Well, I have to admit, I've been on one of your webinars recently, yesterday, in fact, as I think about it. But I was very impressed. I would like to share, or I hope you can share with the Control Trends community, the visual portrayal of how you bring all these features together, how you bring the Haystack tagging, web responsive, mobile first, the template wizard, the enhanced 3D graphics, which creates a powerful workflow tool and a powerful integration.
Yeah, can you show us that, Jamie?
Sure, definitely. This is what we call, ramp up. So this is what we call our top level graphic. We can create different customized graphics for this one. Created like an energy, just oversee of what's going on in each building and how do we see our energy usage at each building. In this top level graphic, we could also look at our alarms. So we see we have 3 alarms within that building. We have 2 points in override. We can also take the sidebar off so we can see it a little bit more. And then when I even build some custom graphics to say, oh, if we want to see a system overview, I can then go in and see exactly where those alarms are from this front page and where those overrides are. Let's go back. Let's get a little bit deeper into the software. So if I go to City Center, we have these circles that pop up on the side. We call that, along with our partners, J2, magic bubble. So that helps us navigate the system. And with that, we can go to our alarms from this page and see our different alarms going on in the system. We could also go to our overrides, see what points override, release those overrides if necessary from here. But then we can look at notes, and that's a good key feature with the software. So now we're able to then add notes to different things. So we have service, some of our service providers or the maintenance teams or just the facility manager wants to push tasks to different people in the different users within the system. So now I can add different notes. First, let's show the notes that are there, and we can see like check belt. So maybe we posted that to somebody and we say, belt's fine. We'll check next week or something like that. So we hit create. And then we can also push that to other users in the system. So if I come here, I can then push it to a system integrator or an end user or multiple other users. Or at the point that it's fixed and done, we close that note. What the beauty is, this can be turned into a report can be sent out to other users in the system. So if the facility manager wants to come in and see exactly what's going on in the system, that's something they could track from that notes report. So let's go to the graphic itself. As we dig deeper into the graphics, we can have a weather, we can see what's going on. I'd hate to be in Las Vegas right now. It seems like it's pretty hot based off of this forecast. I mean, we up in the triple digits. So I always complain about New Orleans weather, but it's definitely not in anywhere near that weather. But if we get into this, we can also get into our floors, and then we can look and see where those alarms exist within the floors. So we even get a little bit deeper into the system. So if I go to floor 1, now I can go to my alarms, I can go to my overrides, I can go to my notes, but also I can go to my summaries. And what I like about the summaries, I'm a little, I guess would say maybe a little bit nerdy when it comes to the summaries, but I like what we're able to do with the summaries. One, it's easy to create these. It uses the haystack tags or tagging in general to create the tag. So what used to take, being a former system integrator, used to take me hours to create, I create this in several minutes, not even a minute probably. It's just selecting a few wizards and saying, this is what I want. On my summary, I select what points. But the beauty is once I select it, I'm selecting it for all my floors that share those same tags. So it's done not just for one, it's done across the system, but then I can then take things out. So if I don't really want to see un-oc points, I want to take the un-ox out or oc cool and oc heat, and I just want to simplify it. I'm able to simplify it, and I'm still able to control my spaces, look at histories, control those spaces, get more, make changes as needed. I can access the graphics from here and get to my graphics. I can also look at my min, max, and average at the bottom and see what my min, max, and average is. But the other part of it that's really nice is that I can compare data. So if I want to compare my set point to my room temp, I can now compare it and see that deviation from set point and see exactly how I'm performing in those areas. I think that's maybe the nerdy side of me with the system, but I love that feature because we now.
Hey, Jamie, you know what? I got a dying question. Every time I see this, I get really excited. Like Eric was saying, because of this tech, we're seeing this technology come down to levels now that really can make a difference. Now, if you have a building portfolio across or several buildings or whatever, can you query your system and say, okay, where are my least or my worst performers? Where am I losing? Where do I have the greatest number of problems? So if I have finances and I have a budget that I can spend to get something fixed, or I got people that I could send somewhere, do you have the ability to triage your through a query on where your worst bleeders are?
We call that Folio. So we can create some custom queries in the system and push that to graphics and reports. So we then can access the system through Folio. Folio uses a simple query language. So if I was like to go look for stuff in the building, let me launch it and I'll show you real quick. So if we wanted to look at maybe temps in zone, I can then pinpoint all my zone temps in the system, but then we could build queries off of that. So now I can see all my current values for those systems. The other part of it that's great is if I want to add custom tags, like for different pieces of equipment, chillers, maybe I want to see how my train chillers are performing against my carrier chillers or something to that extent. I can create those custom tags and then do the comparisons based off the custom tags. So it really, what tagging allows us to do is just really get to the granular level, to the deep level, where I guess coming from the service side, I really have a lot of focus on. I want to know not just how the building's performing, but how the different aspects of the building performing against other aspects of the system, being brand or type of chiller. We now have all these types of chillers out there, especially the mag bearings compared to the normal centrifugal chillers, stuff like that.
That's amazing, by the way. I mean, that by itself is a virtue that I don't think people realize how important and critical that could be.
You know, it's a powerful tool, Kenny, and it gets back to being easy to use and saving time. I mean, obviously getting the data, one of the end games with that is reducing your operational expense and maintenance expense. And again, if you can make it easier and less time consuming to do that, it's just more profitable all the way around.
Yeah,
did you make this, Jamie? This is really nice, by the way.
No, actually, we worked with. I created some of the aspects on top, like the weather and all that, to just kind of add it up. But
that's my favorite part of the whole thing, by the way. Just so you know.
I appreciate that. Thank you. No, we used some of the graphics. I worked with J2 and their team, which is a wonderful team, to help build some of the stuff out and allow us to really feature Optic in the best light. But we go through navigation and graphics, and that's what we've become accustomed to in the software. The other pretty beautiful thing with this is we now have applications, and we can then, with user management, allow what applications are visible. But this allows us even quicker to get to our software. To our key components of the system. So now, like, if I have dashboards that I like to see, I can go directly to the dashboard from the favorite screen. I can then view this dashboard and see the information I need right away. I don't have to dig through the system to get to that. We can create multiple favorites, unlimited favorites. All of these charts, gauges that we provide is featured in the software. But the next step is the beautiful thing as we go to the open architecture view of openness, is that we're able to now bring in more and more charts, or maybe even the open software, I should say. We could bring more and more charts from JSON, which is really taken off in the industry, and bringing those unique visualizations to our owners and let them see exactly how that building's performing at any given time.
So, Jamie, Jason Briggs told me they named that after him. Is that true?
Jason Briggs may think that. No.
He's a bright guy. He's a very bright guy.
No, Jason Briggs is awesome.
Well, let's look at this. We've got 113 degrees in Vegas. How are we doing on our energy consumption here? So how's our equipment doing? Are we actually live hooked up to this one right now? Or we can?
No, this is actually a demo site. So we've created some. So I'm not live on any of this. This is something that we kind of put together to give us some dummy data in the system, or just to kind of be able to highlight the visualizations within.
Derek, you and I have walked through that city center a couple of times, haven't we?
We have. And Jamie, something you might not know, this JSON language that everybody's using, it actually, they wanted to call it Ken because Kenny was working on it originally, but Jason sounded better than Ken. So
well, Jason, and I'll tell you what, we know some of the history of some Jason Briggs, how determined he was, and how he made an extraordinary sale on that building.
Oh yeah,
that was his claim to fame. But no, and you had some big hitters in there. I mean, this stuff is being used by the best of the best. I saw EchoTrol and I saw Rovasys on your toolbars there, and in the graphics. And so what I'm trying to tell our Control Trends community is this is the stuff. This is the ticket. This is happening. This is really a very competent framework. The Fin 5 it really broke through a lot of, I think, I don't say limitations, but it certainly established a new presentation that is just an amazing
aesthetically, it's just really well done. I mean, it's artistic, right? Meaning you could always get data before, but again, maybe not in such a beautiful format, and it's so easily accessible.
So one of the key things that I should bring up too is that we get more and more complex buildings. We need to make this stuff easy, and not easy, but less complex. We don't want to have somebody that's make it to where people can't function with it, access information. So what I really think shines is that it's not only it brings that out with the graphics, but just the ease of use of setting it up to me is what really shines when we bring it to. So it's ease, but it offers that power for those owners to really operate their buildings. And I think that's something we need to focus on, is getting providing that power, but also providing it in a simple, easy to use format.
Well, it seems like it's very easy to scale this too. Seems like it's very
Yeah,
scalable.
well, with HTML5, there's one thing, like we talked about COVID-19 and being able to access things. So one thing we go to, so this is a normal graphic I would have. Let me exit out of this, but this is a normal graphic I would have if I was behind a desk looking at a graphics. But if I was to go to, say, a mobile experience, this is what it would look like. So by creating those tags, it's creating these icons, and these icons help tell me. So if I go to reduce the screen size, let me turn, before I do that, let me turn some stuff off. So if I go to reduce the screen size, go back. This is what it would end up. It defaults with the HTML5 web responsive. We say a mobile first technology. It goes to this. So I don't have to create any additional graphics to go to my point graphics, but it allows me for a more a simpler, easy to use platform to get to my data. So now I can look at trends from that handheld device. I can command points. I could even look at my schedules and see when the building's scheduled to go to change next. But all that is accessible through this. So.
No, dude, I just got to say this, and please don't do this at home. But, you know, so now you're thinking about if you're a tech or whatever, you get a call, you're driving down the road like Kenny does, and you could just go with your smartphone and look right in there and see what's going on and maybe override a point or troubleshoot it or whatever, all while going down the highway. Is that accurate?
We don't want to. I'm not endorsing that.
No, me neither.
Definitely
me
pull
neither.
off to the side of the road. To do that.
Come on,
but yeah,
Eric, you know I don't do stuff like that.
I know you don't do it. But my point being, I mean, no, but just imagine not having to pull a laptop out or get into a Starbucks or something to be able to respond to your customers.
Yeah, definitely. It's I don't have to wait to get back to that desk to do that computer. And the other part of it is, it being HTML5, being the full engineering commission available from Optic is through HTML5. There's no other software needed to engineer the system. So I can go to any network laptop. I can access the system. I don't have to worry about if there's the right plugins put into the system. I don't have to worry about downloading some smart application to make that work. Everything's accessible through that browser, and I'm able to not only command and control, but I'm able to make changes and recommission the system as needed.
And in this day and age, like we mentioned, the COVID-19, that's so critical now to be able to do that. And the HTML5, have all that fit on the screen and look normal on all the different smartphones and everything else going on. It's just, it's amazing to see that. Cause I'm going to say like 4 or 5 years ago, we always said this was going to happen. This was going to be available, but it took a matter of time and a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat behind the curtains to actually achieve this, but it's here. And I think that's why I think a lot of people are excited about it. So just, in summarization, no proprietary protocols, no supervisory controllers needed to better support the system. The communications northbound is stable and built on an open standard, browser-based, no engineering tools, BACnet, Haystack, Modbus, SNMP. This thing is really loaded. So are there any other features that you want to share with us that, people, they might not be aware of that you brought to the forefront?
Yeah, so really what really another big feature of Optic with we see, so we need to be able to integrate more things, and the focus right now with IoT is focused on APIs and how we can make APIs work. And one key API that we have going for Optic right now is what we utilize the Haystack API within the software and use Haystack. And what Haystack allows us to do is integrate Tritium instances such as AX and N4 directly into the system. So being a former system integrator, I used to be out in the field and I'd have to convert all that data from that JACE to BACnet, and that was a kind of a laborious process of getting all that data over, making sure it was correct and getting it over. This is just downloading a simple module into that JACE or the instance, and then I can bring that data, whether or not it's tagged or not, that data carries over to Optic, and then I can sync the trends that are coming from that JACE, sync the trends coming from the instance, sync the alarms, bring all the points in, command and control, whether it comes from a LAN network, a Niagara network, a BACnet network, or even a proprietary network that might be using a driver or something. All that data can come into Optic, and I can use it today without having to do major changes to it.
Very cool.
Very
cool.
Impressive. Yeah.
Jimmy, let me ask you a question. With the COVID going on and some of the building codes may be changing, or people trying to figure out how to meet people and make people safer in buildings, are you getting some different sorts of requests from your customers regarding strategies or features? And if so, what are they?
So really that's been a big discussion, and I think that's going to be something hitting not only Optic's roadmap, but a lot of our roadmaps as we move into the future is how do we best track the density inside the building, so where people are at, if the social distances is being maintained within that building. I know Siemens has some other technologies such as Enlighten and all that we can work with and get that technology into our systems. And I think that's going to be the next step as we move into this IoT age of getting more data into our systems, is knowing where people are located in the building and how do we react to systems. Plus, we could add that energy component into it to then if that area is not as dense or we don't have any people in an area, then we start working off of that data to even better improve the performance of our building.
Absolutely, and we're seeing some APIs and where they're tracking off the building automation system the cleaning schedule. In other words, if there hadn't been anybody in zone 3, 5, and 9, then they feel they can put them at the back of the list and then get to the ones that are heavily used. It's really incredible. But once you have a formidable system like this, you're limited by your own imagination on what kind of queries you generate to get what you need done quickly and efficiently. Now,
So,
Jimmy, one question I want to tag in is, with all this capability, is it possible to still be energy efficient, Jamie? When you're focusing on meeting the COVID-19 with the ventilation, dilution, filtration, and you're really maxing out your air changes or whatever, is there, other than the location you just mentioned with people, I'm sorry, we'll come back to that in a second. Is it possible to still be efficient, or is that something that we just have to forego until we get things under control?
Hang on, Jamie, before you answer real quick, this is what I was going to ask Kenny. If you're not going to show anything else on the screen, if you are, keep the screen up. Otherwise, why don't you just stop the screen share so we're all talking again?
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
perfect. That's where I was going at, Kenny, because,
okay.
But yeah.
So do we want to ask that question again, or we want
to? Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's a great question, Casey. Just ask it again, and I'll edit the whole thing in.
Well, Jamie, when I see all the capability of Desigo Optic, one of the issues that's been popping up here is that in order to maintain the best ASHRAE stance towards the healthy environment, and that is ventilation, filtration, dilution of air, is it possible to still maintain energy efficiency, or does that go out the window when you're trying to do your best defense against COVID-19?
I think it's definitely possible to maintain energy efficiency. I think the one key step that as we move into the integration world that we fail to really to get to in our projects is the planning stage. We need to be better planners. We need to get together early and often before the project's even implemented. Before we even setting the system into the building, we need to be able to put that plan together and be able to work with, we now work in not just in the mechanical and HVAC industry with the automation group, but we're working with the lighting group, we're working with the utility group, we're working with all these groups within the building. We need to put our heads together. I mean, if all of us think alike, nobody's thinking at all. So we need to have different, all those people, really all that input, all that, and then we can design a system and make sure we focused on all these key areas. Today, we just try to wing it. And I think that we need to start moving to that industry of being more proactive with our buildings.
I love that quote, Kenny. We got to write that one down. Jamie, that was great. If everybody's thinking the same thing, then nobody's thinking. Is that what you said? That's a great quote.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, well, because we're seeing all these trends coming in through the industry, and again, it's remarkable how we see, when you say about planning, we see about it's changing the specifications. ASHRAE is fast writing new standards and trying their best to deal with things, and you all look for codes. We're all looking for that, the writing that we can use for guidance. And in the meantime, I think a lot of it is going to be done through the local planning, the people that really have the most to say about the building and how they protect their best interests, and maybe a Division 25 change. Do you see, I'm sure Desigo, it fits right into that where you're going to give somebody the big, opportunity to make sure everything's seamlessly integrated.
I do think Division 25, we're starting to see it more and more with specifications, but it's a definite need, especially for today's buildings. And I do think that I've run into both on federal sites and multiple commercial sites where there's an expectation that certain systems are going to be integrated. Then we get to the point of the automation contractor showing up and nothing was checked, nothing was verified. So then we have a system that we can't even utilize anymore. So I think if we get to it early, we can eliminate some of these pitfalls that we always see with integration.
I would certainly agree with that. And The only issue with there is that how many people are really ready to deal with that high level master systems integration, that they can actually provide that, so it becomes, so they're going to rely more on technology. So I think what you're doing here with the Desigo Control Point is you're going to be able to give mid-level or mid competency range of integrators the tools they need to maybe go up to the next level and comply with Division 25.
Right. And I think the owners out there are probably listening going, this is great because I'll be able to get data. I'll be able to scale things. It's going to give me new possibilities in my building that maybe wasn't affordable before. So I suspect they'll be asking the consulting engineers and their integrators how to do this. The engineers got to be salivating because, again, I mean, this gets back to what Kenny was saying too, is that with this COVID thing and all, a lot of it's going to get back to, having data and documentation. It seems like the ease at which you can keep up with reports vis-a-vis, like, Kenny gave the example of the restrooms, tracking something like that, or how many people are in the building and stuff like that, being able to very financially feasible, be able to do that is going to be a huge piece. So the engineers are going to love it too. But I guess where I was going, Kenny, was for our listeners out there that want to get involved with the Desigo Control Point, how do they do it? What's their next step?
So the Desigo Control Point, it's right now, it's we have our talent channel that Josh's team that is providing the product. We can set up a demo with one of those territory managers. We can provide a demo, show them how the software works, go over all the key benefits of tagging and openness. But yeah, we can definitely reach out to Josh and his team, and we can get that set up for you.
Yeah, it's growing. I think as soon as I hear that, I think of Jerry Edwards down there, EK Automation, and some of the great jobs that he's done, some of the amazing applications that he's been able to share with us. And Premier Automation in West Virginia, I know that they're a Desigo Control Point. They've led with that from day one. So it is coming, and it's going to become more and more available. But right now, it's pretty esoteric. But I think it's going to make its way into the market.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's with any software. If I was in their shoes, it's always the hesitancy of trying a new software. I do. Jerry's great. Jerry's been pushing Optic. He's probably one of our earliest proponents for Optic, especially with some of his school systems out there by him. And he's doing a very awesome job of getting it implemented. But yeah, we with these times, COVID kind of bit us, and we working to get the message out there. Really showing how openness is the benefit or the future of what we need to do with our automation system. So I'm very optimistic as we go into 21 and with some of the projects that I see lined up as we move into this.
I agree.
You should be for sure. But for we have a lot of owners and end users that watch the show. And, obviously, if you're an integrator, you're interested, you go to the territory manager. If you're in Georgia, Stromquist handles it. Kenny handles it up his way. So you got a great distribution network of distributors and talent dealers. But for like an owner of a building or even a consulting engineer, is there a great website because I know you guys have a ton of information on this. Is there a link we could put in the show notes to send them to, or did they just reach out to me and Ken and we can point them in the right direction?
No, so we have a website. If you go, I could forward you the information on our website, but it's Desigo. It's a Desigo Optic website, public-facing website. You can get all the information you need on what we talked about today. We also, as Kenny had described earlier, we did a webinar yesterday. I could send out a link for that webinar for us to access the system and show actually the key components and how we applied it in Optic.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Definitely if we I'm always available. I'll make myself available if anybody wants to see the product. I'm more than happy to show them the product and show them what we can do and lead them in the right direction.
Well, you said something really interesting. I just want to get your thoughts real quick. We've been crippled literally by the COVID-19. Eric and I used to travel probably once a month to an event and Control Trends had we were really, really interested in the new tech and how, what was coming next, so to speak, and track the trends of the industry. And, we've been basically curtailed. We were talking about the last time we were at an event. I'm thinking that there's very few events that are going to be, that are going to happen in 2020. I mean, on the horizon, I think we've got Realcomm IBCon coming up October 28th through the 30th at the Gaylord Rockies in Denver. And then you've got ASHRAE. ASHRAE is moving forward. They're going to have, a thing in Chicago. So, in the meantime, you guys are doing a pretty good job. Mickey Mantis and the whole team, you guys keep keep the world interested in Siemens through your LinkedIn, through the webinars. And but do you think is that the new future? Are we going to have to start selling building automation through these things that we're doing right now as Zoom meetings?
Unfortunately, I think just from a financial standpoint, I think we see the overhead costs compared to how we're doing it today. I do rather do it in person. I like the in person. I like the conversation with people and everything that we have, and the synergy that gets built up when you do have those on-site events. But I do believe right now virtual is our best way to go. I think I've seen a lot of what Siemens has done with virtual that really has pushed what's even possible with some of the virtual conferences. But I'm with you. I would love to see that in-person conference come back, because you just meet so many different people. You meet those. You get a good idea of what's going on in the industry, where it's going, and everything. Unfortunately, with virtual, it's just a conversation, but you don't hear all those other conversations going on.
Yeah, and I mean all those human cues that you get. When you get promises at the bar, they're hard to take back. And no, but I think to your point,
I've never done that. No.
But to your point, I think the world has learned a lot of lessons. Not just here in America. My wife's German. We talk with Germany probably 3-4 times a week, and what they're going through, how their school systems are getting back on track. They never quit schools. They never stopped. They don't have K through 12 per se, but they have a version of it. But they, so we're learning how the world's reacting to the whole thing. But yeah, I think you're right. There's very few opportunities to have those meetings, because right now meetings are the bad thing. Here in Pennsylvania, they're trying to limit anything over 25 people. It's bad, not good. You can't even have wedding receptions. You can't even have high school graduations. I mean, they've really put a social ordering to it that makes it very difficult to do the things the way we used to do. But I think because of what we do, we're still being in the very important mainstream. So even though we can't meet in person and we can't have these big conventions, what we sell and what we do as professionals is even needed more now than ever before. And with the CARES Act and the budgeting the way it is, if it stays consistent like that through this next political term, we're going to have a carrot there to the building owners take advantage of things like the Desigo Optic, work with a partner that can integrate their entire building needs and actually provide the solutions necessary to deal with COVID-19. Because I think the people hurting the worst are the real retail people, the hotel, the travel industry, but commercial real estate needs products like this Desigo Optic.
Yeah, we definitely need to be adaptable, because we went back when this first kicked off. We had one of our partners in Canada was looking for a way to kick off Optic. We worked together. We planned ahead. He was able to create his whole site on a VPN up front. So I was able to walk him through doing the whole Optic site. So I think with our technological background and our ideas and the automation industry is great at pushing the envelope. I think we've done well in adapting, and I think we will adapt. But the only thing we can't bring back is that human experience. I think is going to be the troubling part of it.
Yeah, and I tell you, the troubling part is if you want to have a human experience, New Orleans is definitely the place to go.
It's hard to walk down Bourbon Street virtually.
yeah, it is. So yeah, it'll get back on track. But Jimmy, man, appreciate the great work you and the team at Siemens are doing. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and we'll get you come back maybe in a month or so. Keep us updated.
Definitely appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for your hospitality, and anytime y'all need anything, let me know. Well,
listen, and I'm going to do an exit that I think you can relate to. Hey, thanks for being on the show. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Is Jamie just a cool guy or what? Huh? I love this guy.
Well, I tell you what, each vendor has a couple of, Laura Cavett, I was working with her a little while ago, and it's remarkable how talented she is. James Johnson and his team down there at Tritium, several people in that network. And then Jamie Lee, he could take the highly difficult technical stuff and mash it up so that we can understand it and sell it. And that's basically what we do for a living. And yet, when things don't work, he's your go-to guy. And he saw how generous he was. The worst we could do is put his cell phone number on the show, but we won't do that.
Well, and you and I both handle the product. It's a great product, great tech support. Siemens, great team. We love our boy Josh Felber, man, doing a great job. And
yeah, definitely,
folks. But so Kenny, here comes the stock tip, and I'm more curious about this than anything else. So you're familiar with Airbnb, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Airbnb, for our audience who don't know, and Kenny, I've talked about this before, they're kind of like Uber, whatever, they focus on building the interface, right? So Airbnb doesn't physically, as I understand it, can he own any properties at all. Yet
Nope.
they rent more rooms every year than Hilton Hotel, Marriott, all
All of
those
them
people
together.
can, all of them together. So they just created this interface. So, okay, so here is this stock. It's called Lemonade. And what they do, and again, it's just kind of beyond me, but they're focusing on the millennial group, okay? And essentially what they do is how you buy all your insurance needs online, okay? So I haven't seen it. The stock price has been going crazy, but they've got these interfaces where it'll go out and shop and do all this stuff where you can do all your insurance from your home to your auto to everything. They are actually not an insurance company, if I'm understanding this correctly. They just have deals with all these other insurance companies, and they get the best rate. Now they think, and of course the interface is supposedly really cool. They think the millennials and the generation after them, that's the only way they're going to buy insurance. The day of an insurance agent for them is just over. They just want to be online. So question, do you think this is going to work?
Eric, I don't know if I want it to work. Airbnb and Uber, there were two different things, and the cleanliness and standards of Uber, for instance, were remarkable. I mean, if you don't get into a car, we don't know anything about it. It's just a cold call confrontation. You make a leap of faith and get in the vehicle. Airbnb, you and I have used it. We remember that one ship or boat we used, instead of going to a hotel room, we went to the harbor down there.
Yeah.
And
So Dale Earnhardt's boat.
yeah, junior. Yeah, I think it was junior, wasn't it? Or was it senior? I don't even remember. But
One
anyhow,
of
the
those
point was is that we could evaluate that, and before we made any decisions, we were convinced it was a good thing. Insurance to me is so critical. I mean, even your most stalwart insurance companies, Nationwide, Geico, and whatever, Progressive, I hear stories where, even with AAA, there were issues and problems that weren't ironed out, and, and things weren't verified. To have somebody that's not trained in the professions of insurance, being your interface with an insurance provider, seems to
It's
me
kind of
like,
scary, yeah.
so it's buyer beware. That means the person that's seeking the insurance has all the risk, has all the diligence, the due diligence to make sure that they're getting what they need. Instead of getting that little questionnaire, that flow charted thing saying, well, what about this? What about this? What about that? You're looking at a template, probably selecting what you want. And then you could sell yourself short on the insurance that would be vital and could affect the future of yourself.
Well,
and your
that could be it, brother. That could very well be the thing.
So I'm probably old school on that one. I'd probably say I'd be
Well,
very
I am too.
skeptical.
I'm old school on a lot of it. So,
But I like
anyway,
the other one you said, some of the other things you're talking about, that schooling thing, that makes perfect sense to me, because, there was a time period where, I did a lot of, myself, I didn't have opportunities to go to the classroom all the time. So I would do the self-study thing and basically clep the test or whatever, and so I was used to that. And, I got along with that for half my education, probably, or, a third of it. And I didn't mind it, but I probably was peculiar. I thought, a lot of people, they need that social support network to show up, because they're not just coming to learn, they're coming to meet so and so, and they want to see what so and so looks like and stuff like that.
right.
So I mean, so much social interaction that.
Yeah, but think about it, because I'm married to a millennial, and I mean, their idea of social interaction is on the phone. I mean, they would. I mean, they can be in the same room and they're not looking at each other, they're texting and they're sending videos. So it's like, it's not that they're not social, but they're just social in different ways than we are. So if you put it in that context, you're kind of going, well, yeah, I mean, if you had 5 people in a Zoom meeting, that might be all it takes for them to get all the socialness they need. I just don't know, because they're wired differently than we are.
Extraction principle. Whoa, that brings up something that we'll have to talk about. That your social needs, how you can extract them from a digital media.
What I wonder about is I've kind of always sort of thought maybe there's like this underlying, the ecology, like, the earth or whatever, there's this underlying sort of thing. So, things get out of line, you have an ice age and it starts over, like it's almost like an entity or whatever. And it's kind of, if you thought of it that way, it's like we've been being prepared for COVID, if you think about it, because the millennials, as long as they got, a phone or whatever, I don't hear too many of them complaining, wow, I'm not able to go out and see people, right? It's like they see everybody anyway. So,
well, what I do, but see, I don't understand, Eric, is, and this is, reading some of the old French philosophers and whatever, and the 5 senses in Shakespeare, and you read about, eye contact, the olfactory, the things that happen in the course of human events that aren't necessarily known by the people that are experiencing it. It's something innate to them, that there's attractions and stuff that happen. And if you don't engage your full contact, your senses, to me, that's why dating online is such a fascinating concept to me, because I don't think there's anything more exciting than when you meet people, especially the youthful people, getting to socialize, than that experience. I mean, the first dance and all that other stuff.
Oh yeah, for me too.
I don't get it.
But what else about like evolution? Okay, how we evolve as human beings. And many years ago, we didn't stand up straight because we needed to run faster. We had more teeth because we're more cooking our food and all that stuff. And then as we evolved, those just fell away, right? And this happens over thousands of generations, or 100, whatever. But my point being is, like, I mean, it's clear to you and me, and not one's better than the other. I mean, this new group of people coming in have adopted, the digital age. It's what they know. You and I remember the first kiss, the first dance, and all that stuff. And you and I remember, going to school and looking forward to it and all that. But I mean, dude, there was a rotary phone. I mean, somebody would call you up on the phone and your mom and dad would answer it and go, may I speak to Kenny, please? Oh, yes. Mr. Smyers, may I speak to Kenny, please? And it's different now, dude.
You know what, Eric, you say that you've done it before, but I remember as a kid, one of the worst ass whoopings I got was they had those party lines.
Yeah.
And every the whole neighborhood had one line coming through it, and the operator would ring the bell and the phone would ring on every line, or every line on the phone. Every phone on the line would ring, they'd say, this call is for so-and-so. All other parties, please hang up, right?
Oh, geez. Yeah.
I got caught a couple times listening on. I wanted to know what the hell was going on. Who are you calling? I mean, where are you? What are you doing? I started with the phone. I remember my dad came up and woo, I never did that again.
Yeah.
Never. But to your point, so you're right. I just, again, the staying in line with what we do for a living and seeing how we're laying 4 generations on top of the same concept, and the interpretation at every level is different, and yet it's got to work. No matter what happens at the end of the day, it's got to work.
Right, it's got. And so here's sort of a question: who's more upset and affected by this? You and me, or our kids, or the high school kids now? I mean, outside of sports and stuff like that. I mean, it affects us all, but for guys like me and you, it's like, man, we want to go to a meeting. Let's go fly or whatever. It's you know what? How did we get off topic? We're supposed to be recording a show here, and we just got in a conversation.
Well, see, we probably lost the people that were listening. Probably fell off by now, so it's not.
All right, everybody out there, wake up! Kenny's going to bring it on home.
This is for you and me. Well, Eric, you got to bring us home literally with the close here.
The what?
So stay tuned.
The close. Okay. All right. So a special thanks to our hostess. I'm all off track. Okay. A special thanks to our guest this week, Jamie Lee from Siemens. Great product demonstration he did for us. Special thanks to our sponsor, Belimo Air Controls. And with that, we will bid you a happy adieu. Remember, be bold, stay in control, stay relevant, and stay safe.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. We'll be back next week. God willing.
Yep.
I can't believe I'm so sidetracked.
No, you know what? If people are listening to that, then they must.